I'm just thinking in my head, how am I going to explain to my wife that I could be going to jail at the moment? So a few years ago, we hosted the Countach Rally in 2019 during the 50th anniversary of the Countach. And one of the things that I love about these rallies is it gives people an opportunity and even an excuse to use their car, put miles on them and enjoy. And after that rally, I realized that I had made so many incredible experiences that were, for me, once in a lifetime. I never imagined I'd be doing anything like this, let alone driving. At that time, I had a Diablo on the Countach Rally, ironically. And driving a Diablo, enjoying it in these incredible roads around incredible people and incredible cars. And since then, the company has done a few other rallies. I would say that our last rally last year was probably the greatest automotive experience of my entire life. We started organizing this rally alongside a good friend of ours. He is the founder of the St. Regis Hotel in Park City, built the property, built it up, this incredible mountain resort in Utah. And he offered help as a location to start the rally. And just looking around the roads in that area, just what I was told is some of the most incredible roads in the world. The goal was to put together a rally that would celebrate the great analog supercars of our time. So, 1990s, let's call it the greatest hits of the 1990s and early 2000s. And you never know what you're going to get. Somehow, we put together, in my opinion, one of the greatest collections of cars that I've seen on a rally in my career. 3 F40s, Diablo GT, obviously from us, Diablo 6.0, Diablo Roadster. You had manual LP 640 Coupe. You had 2 40th anniversary Murcielagos. You had 2 Carrera GTs, an Enzo. I could go on and on and on. And a Bugatti Veyron Vitesse and a Koenigsegg Agera. So sort of this incredible run of the 90s and early 2000s of hypercars and supercars and the most interesting group of people. I would say you never know what to expect. And the rally told such a great story. So we've got this group coming out, and we've got this next 4 days planned, driving around Utah, into Idaho, into Jackson Hole, and then ending up at a resort in Jackson Hole. So we're going through these insane roads. Many times on these rallies, for me, it's just about the customer experience, making sure that clients are happy. I'm always putting myself last. I really just want the guys to have a great time. At the end of the day, all the cars were running amazing. So, the extra cars that we brought that included a Diablo GT, included a few other cars, weren't actually used. Everyone's cars were working properly. The guys were having fun. So I had the incredible opportunity to be driving a black Diablo GT that we had in inventory at the time. I should say this car later became my car. It was a surreal moment because it felt like being in a video game. You're driving on some of the most incredible roads in the world. You're cruising along, and 1 second, James Stradman flies by in his blue Agera, and then you've got an Enzo that flies by, and then 2 F40s, and you're like, what am I actually seeing? And what is actually going on? So the first day was pretty cool and calm. We hit some great roads. We went south in Utah, some really, really special experiences, and just really had a blast going in through these small towns, these big winding roads through the mountains. We had a few issues with a couple stone chips, things like that, which we definitely resolved. There was a moment where we had a sheep crossing, which was very cool. But those roads are probably the best I've ever seen in my life, maybe the best in the US. And then just, without fail, we had 2 days of no issues, no complaints. I would say the most remarkable part at this point is we were definitely cruising. We were achieving some great speeds. I mean, things that might be frowned upon, but there was no one on the road. We were in pretty much a controlled condition. The weather was perfect. Everything was perfect. The cars were all checked out, fresh tires everywhere. So we were doing this as cautiously and as safely as possible, but we were getting up there. When you think of, and some of these cars are in their late 80s, early 90s, and you think of these F40s and a Lamborghini Countach downdraft that is cruising, for hundreds of miles a day with 0 issues. AC blowing cold. A great friend of ours was having a blast with his Countach and was enjoying. There was another 512 TR, and everyone was having a blast. Now, on the 3rd day, I opened my big mouth, and because we've had such an amazing time, I wanted everyone to enjoy But obviously, be mindful of your speed, be mindful of the roads around you. I announced that if anyone had any problems or any tickets, to let me know. I would personally cover speeding tickets. The morning started amazing. We're cruising along. It's completely surreal. At this moment, we're on the way through Montana, going on these roads where you don't see anyone in the mountains for maybe an hour. And they're these curvy, long, windy roads. I sort of started to say, like, I'm gonna calm down at this point. I've done everything. This is as good as it gets in my automotive experience. I've gotten to see all these cars on the highway together, the sounds, the smells, everything was just perfect. And then all of a sudden, as we start slowing down, in front of us, there is a cop coming the opposite direction. And I see a yellow Carrera GT in front of me, who happens to be a good friend of ours, and cop is waving him down. And I'm like, oh man, I hope he didn't know what we were doing earlier. And we all pull over. I pull over. I didn't know if I was getting pulled over or not, but I felt like it was the right thing to do, support my fellow comrade in this situation. Cop goes up to his car, grabs his paper, and I am just thinking who I know in Montana or Wyoming area, who do I know in this area that could potentially get me out of jail? Now, the one thing that my wife did say, she allowed me to go on this trip. She wanted me to have fun. She said, please do not go over 100 miles per hour. I cannot confirm or deny that we were doing that. And I'm just thinking in my head, how am I going to explain to my wife that I could be going to jail at the moment? Or how could I explain to my wife that I'm going to have a serious issue? So luckily, we weren't actually going that fast. The cop was very upset with us. He was not very nice to me. It's okay. He's doing his job. I understand that. Luckily, let us off with, I think, 3 tickets each or 4 tickets each. We did have to get attorneys in those states. Ed can either keep this in or edit this. He knows best. I felt like this could be the biggest ticket clinic bill of all time, of anyone imaginable. And luckily, it was not. The biggest takeaway from the whole weekend was you have people from all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds. And I think there's this, this beautiful spirit around the owners of a lot of these cars. I mean, they're very passionate. They come from different experiences to get where they are at that moment. And, these are all dreams. These are like, trophies throughout your career and whatever you've done. We had an NFL football player. We had, all these different people. And I think everyone could go back to a moment where they were a kid, and this would have just been a dream for him. This would have never been imaginable to achieve. And here they are enjoying these cars on the most incredible roads. So that was very special, not to get emotional, but to see the human spirit in that environment. I would say the other interesting part to have all these cars together was just how much enjoyable they are over the newer cars. A lot of these guys don't get the opportunity to always drive their cars out of their collections. They're busy with work, they're busy with travel, whatever it may be. And this was a moment for people to enjoy these analog cars and put them to the test. And everybody that walked away said, this is way more fun than my SF90. This is way more fun than my whatever it may be modern car. And we all agreed that you could argue that, 1989 to 2009 was probably the greatest period for supercar building, car building of all time. That generation of cars. Yeah, there's a few cars that went over into 2014 and product cycles or whatnot, but you could argue that that is the greatest generation of supercars of all time.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Bridgestone, and the most exciting news out of Bridgestone is the new release of their Turanza Prestige tire. It is their flagship Grand Touring tire, targeting luxury SUVs, crossovers, and sedans, like a Mercedes S-Class or a BMW X7. And this gives you all the whisper quiet ride that you want in a high-end luxury experience, as well as the wet and dry weather performance that we love from Bridgestone. And you'll get some of the greatest longevity they've ever had on street tires, 70,000-mile limited warranty. So we love Bridgestone for their sports car and supercar tires in the Potenza range. Of course, the Dueler AT Ascent that I've got on my Porsche Cayenne, I absolutely love. But whatever you're looking to find tires for, Bridgestone has something great. So check them out now at the link in the description below to learn more about the Bridgestone family of tires.